This is the iconic catastrophic Cosmo, and it's called a catastrophic Cosmo because it is an absolute catastrophe. There's holes everywhere. In the last episode, I'll leave a link in the description, we started work on this floor pan here and this sill as well. It's starting to look a little bit like a floor pan again instead of something that's rotten and have got massive holes in it. So in this episode, we're going to continue on this car. By the way, this is one of 1,100 ever made. It's Mazda's first rotary powered car, and it is like the grandfather of all rotary Mazdas, and this is a very iconic car. So in this episode, we're going to continue on the floor pan on this sill. Hopefully we're going to fill all this gap here as well, so it doesn't look so much of a catastrophe. Right, so this big majestic hole here is what we're going to try and tackle in today's episode. So we need to make this inner section here. We've got this section to make. We've got this sill that continues all the way into this bulkhead section here, and then we've also got this outer section to make. Also, you may have noticed this rust, which I also have to cut most of this off to try and attend to this rust as well. And yeah, try and make some sense out of this car, because look, I can stick my head in here. But we do need to weld this floor pan first before filling this, because we've got good access in here. So let's crack on. It really does feel like we're building a brand new Cosmo from scratch. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make this inner sill section, which gives a lot of the strength to that sill section and floor. So we're going to mark it out on a piece of sheet steel and get it cut out. Now we can trim it down to fit. Now we can drill some holes. Now this panel is actually plug welded to the floor section that we've already popped in. And there you have it, good as new. Now I'm going to concentrate on this outer section here. So we're still waiting on welding gas. So I'm going to make this section here, which continues all the way through up until this bulkhead. It also laps just onto here as well, and it's spot welded to this panel here as well. So I'm going to concentrate on making this, and then I can start tackling all of this section up here. I might have to cut up here to expose more of this, to then refabricate this, to then put that back on, to then continue down here. Yeah, there's a lot of holes in this car. There definitely is a lot of holes in this car, and it seems like all the outer panels look relatively okay, but then when you take the outer panels off, everything's rusted behind it. Now throughout this entire process, I keep offering the panel up to make sure that I'm heading in the right direction. Now I can get some weld through primer on there. And already that's 2 sections done. Now that we've actually finally got some welding gas, we can get all of the panels finally welded in properly. So these panels on the floor pan and the bulkhead section are made in the previous episode, links in the description, but I only tacked them in. So now I can get them fully welded in before continuing. Now here you can see me cutting out all the bad metal and all the bits that I want to replace. And you can see there's an old repair there as well. Now before I move any further, I'm going to get all the grinds welded down. I'm going to get all the welds ground down while I've got good access through that hole. Now I can blow all the dust out. I can get some Dinitrol RC900, which is a rust inhibitor, and then I can get some primer on there. Right, it's looking a lot better in there now, so I've mostly ground the welds down while I've got access. I will go back in at a later date to finish it all off and tart it all up and stuff like that. But for now, I'm trying to horse on and get all of this done. So, we've done all of this, it's looking really nice. We've cut this off because, I mean, this was all rusty, so I need to remake all of this. But I need to get this in first, so then I've got something to weld to, and then I need to make this sill here to know how far this comes down, because that actually goes onto it. So I'm going to get this panel in now, and then get it all welded in, get it ground down, primed up, and then that should close all this section off. Right, so before we go any further, I have just been working on this, but before we go any further, you may be able to hear in the background we're actually spraying the inside of the Porsche 914, which is Tim's car. That full build is absolutely crazy. I'll leave a link to that in the description, but for now, we're going to move the Cosmo into the place where the 914 used to be, in prime spot in the center of the workshop. So we're going to sneak it round some cars, get it in there, and we'll finally have some space, because literally I've had like a meter's worth of space to try and get the Cosmo done. So yeah, let's get it moved. Let's move some cars, get it shifted around there, and have more space. Yeah, we have been cramped up trying to do this build, but up goes the Opel Manta, which is a future build, and in the background you can actually see Betty, which is Auto Alex's. But finally, we've got some space for the Cosmo. Right, so this is the new temporary situation place for the Cosmo. Now, loads of space for activities, so much space for activities. So I think now I'm going to clean the Cosmo out, because literally I've neglected this inside here. We've got, you know, bits of old panels that we still need to take templates from, and I'm probably going to keep anyway for, you know, old time's sakes. And we've got, you know, panels that we've already made for other parts of the car. So I'm going to start by cleaning all this up, make it look nice and majestic like the car it is, except for the rust. And then, yeah, we'll continue on this section here. Sometimes when you're going full ham on a build, it does kind of get out of hand with all the panels and rust and everything that appears. Now the welding's done, I'm going to get the Zac Laser, the laser cleaning machine from Zac Lasers. Now, this is an absolute beast. If you can see it, you can laser it. Links in the description to Zac Lasers. I mean, this thing is a beast. In that box section there, you can't get any tools in, but you can still get the laser in there. And just look at what it does to this rust. Now once that's done, we can get the RC900 from Dinitrol. This is a rust inhibitor, links in the description. We use Dinitrol for every single project that we work on. Now that's done, we can get some primer on there to stop it flash rusting. And now we can finally get that panel on. Once the top's welded, I can now get the bottom plug welded, and it's important to make sure it's flush against the floor section to maintain strength. Now I can make that main structural piece that's inside that sill. Now this is a continuation from the sill that you can actually see that's underneath the door. Next, before welding, I'm going to get some weld through primer on there, and then I can finally get it plug welded onto the car. Now these welds on the bottom definitely do need grinding back flush, because there's another panel, again, which goes over the top and it laps onto that floor. Oh yes, we are making progress. Now it's little tiny bits at a time, but it's slowly making the car again. We're basically building this car from scratch. So that's a lot of that structure back into that corner. Now I have just noticed that there is also a panel which is behind this that is also rotted out, so I need to remake that as well. But for now, first, now I've got all that done, got all that primed, I'm going to start making this outer sill section here, which comes to somewhere here and is welded to this panel. So I can get that made. I can squirt some Dinitrol stuff in there while I've got access here and here. You may be wondering, why haven't you filled this hole yet? And the reason is because I want to get this section made and this panel made on here, and then I can treat it from the backside with that hole, and then obviously I can weld it back up from the inside. So I'm going to make this panel next, and then we'll take it from there. A lot of the time in restoration, it is like a giant puzzle, and you've got to think ahead of what panel you want to get on first before you get another panel on, because you don't want to weld a panel on and then have to take it back off because you've forgotten something. Now I can get some holes drilled in it, and this is actually plug welded to the section that I've just welded in. Again, that laser from Zac Lasers coming in handy. And here is a bit of a mistake that I've made. Now, there's actually some drain holes in this sill which I actually forgot about. So I'm having to cut the sill again to weld it back up to make a bit of a recess for water to drain. Just above my head there, you can see where water can enter into the sill, and we definitely want to make sure it's got a pathway out. And that's probably one of the reasons why this car is so rotten on the front. Now that's done, I can start working on the door jamb section. And this is quite an important section because it's actually where the door meets the body of the car. Here you can see me making multiple cuts which are relief cuts to allow me to bend this section round. Now it's not a straight bend, and this is why you need the relief cuts. Now while I'm doing that, Ryan from Prodent is actually working on the Cosmo as well. So there's a couple of dents in the Cosmo, mainly on the front and the roof section. And while he's doing that, I'm going to continue on that door aperture. Here you can see I've taken a template from the door, so I know exactly where the holes go. And you can see I've made a slight mistake by making that panel a little bit too small. So I'm going to cut half of the panel off and I'm going to remake an extended piece. You can see where the hole goes there. Now Ryan has absolutely hooked us up with sorting the dents out on this car. Now I'll leave a link in the description to his Instagram. Do go check him out. He's really helped us out on this build. You can see he's got a light behind, and even with a primed surface he can still actually carry out the repairs. Usually with PDI you need a very shiny surface so you can see exactly where the dents are, but he's still able to do it on a matte primed surface. Once that's done, I can get all the welds ground down, I can get everything cleaned up. And here you can see the bracket which goes behind the door aperture, which the door actually bolts into. And I'm going to make a small bracket here, which allows the movement of that panel, and that gives you slight adjustment on the door. Before I get that on, I need to clean all the welds down. Now here I've lined up the holes on the other sides to make sure they're fully central, then I can get that small panel welded on, and just like that you can see there's plenty of movement. I need to make sure this panel actually matches and it doesn't protrude out from the other panels. And this is important because when I get the outer section on, I don't want anything to be obstructing the outer section. that is all of that cluster of panels now complete. Now I made this outer panel in 2 sections, got the beads in there, got this in here as well, which that kind of accepts the swage line that goes all the way from the back to the front of the car. So that's all sorted. The only thing that I do need to do is this section in here and this outer panel, which this is the remainder of, which you can see it's very crusty. I don't think it's meant to do that. So that means that that's going to be it for this video. Do smash that like and subscribe button because it is free. And in the next episode, we're going to try and make this said panel that looks like it's a bird that's flying. Yeah, I've actually already made this panel. A bit of a taster for the next episode because this panel is actually right here. So you'll be able to see that in the next episode. So do check that out. Check out all the other builds as well. Check out all of the other things on this, and yeah, we'll catch you in the next one.